Rob, as it happens, there was no Thornton Township meeting to speak of, but Tiffany Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months.
In an incident that has sent shockwaves through the nation, the recent discovery in Tiffany Henyard's apartment has raised alarm across both local communities and national security agencies. The FBI's findings are so unnerving that they have prompted widespread media coverage, public concern, and intensified investigations into the extent of the threat. To understand why these revelations are so terrifying, we need to break down the series of events leading to the discovery, what was uncovered, and the potential implications for national security. Before delving into the details of the FBI's findings, it's crucial to first establish who Tiffany Henyard is. Henyard, a seemingly ordinary resident of a quiet suburban neighborhood, had been living in her apartment for several years. Little was known about her before the FBI investigation began. Henyard was a private individual who had kept a low profile and avoided drawing attention to herself. She held a steady job, maintained a few close relationships, and lived an otherwise routine life. At least, that's what her neighbors and colleagues thought. However, over the past few months, Henyard's behavior had begun to raise suspicions. She had been seen less frequently in public, and her interactions with others seemed increasingly erratic. She had also been reported as having made several unexplained trips out of town, often disappearing for days without explanation. These oddities piqued the curiosity of law enforcement agencies, leading to an investigation that would ultimately unearth some truly disturbing findings. The investigation into Tiffany Henyard started as a routine inquiry. Local authorities were initially alerted after several neighbors and co-workers raised concerns about her behavior. They reported seeing her with strange individuals, engaging in unusual activities, and speaking in cryptic terms. These reports, though vague, were enough to raise red flags for local police. The initial investigation quickly grew into a larger, more coordinated effort when federal authorities, including the FBI, got involved. Law enforcement agencies have been monitoring various individuals suspected of potentially being involved in radical activities, and Henyard's case caught their attention after her movements were flagged by surveillance systems. A search warrant was obtained for Henyard's apartment, and agents moved in to conduct a thorough search. What they uncovered would horrify not only the FBI but also the general public. The FBI agents who raided Tiffany Henyard's apartment discovered a cache of materials so disturbing that it left even seasoned investigators shaken. Among the items found were one of the most chilling findings was the discovery of a vast collection of extremist literature and terrorist propaganda. Hundreds of books, pamphlets, and digital files were recovered, many of which contained radical ideologies advocating for violence against various targets. These materials were not simply theoretical or ideological, but outlined specific methods for carrying out attacks. The documents were deeply disturbing, suggesting that Henyard had been immersing herself in dangerous belief systems for some time. Some of the documents were marked with foreign languages, hinting at possible international connections. The FBI has yet to fully confirm whether Henyard had links to any organized extremist groups, but the sheer volume and nature of the materials suggested that her activities were not the product of mere curiosity. These items pointed to a troubling level of commitment to a violent cause. The next discovery that struck fear into investigators was the presence of several homemade explosive devices. These were not simple, rudimentary devices. They appeared to be sophisticated and carefully constructed. The FBI bomb squad was immediately called to the scene to assess the threat, and they confirmed that these explosives were highly functional and capable of causing significant harm. The discovery of these devices raised serious concerns about Henyard's intentions. While the devices had not been detonated, their presence strongly suggested that Henyard was preparing for an attack. The FBI has yet to disclose whether these explosives were intended for use in a specific location or event. But given the nature of the materials, authorities are investigating all possibilities, including terrorism. In addition to the explosives, agents uncovered an alarming amount of weaponry, including firearms, knives, and large quantities of ammunition. Some of the firearms were legally registered to Henyard, but the sheer quantity and variety of weapons found in her apartment raised further suspicions. It is clear that Henyard had gone to great lengths to amass an arsenal, possibly preparing for an attack, or attempting to carry out some form of armed resistance. What was even more alarming was the presence of tactical gear, including body armor and military-style clothing. These items, coupled with the firearms and ammunition, suggested that Henyard was not only preparing for an attack, but had also been training for some time. The level of preparedness was deeply troubling, leading investigators to believe that she was part of a much larger organized operation. Perhaps the most perplexing and terrifying aspect of the discovery was the collection of surveillance equipment and detailed plans. Among the items found were high-end cameras, GPS devices, and other surveillance tools, suggesting that Henyard had been tracking specific individuals, locations, or events. Some of the materials were even marked with coordinates, pointing to potential targets. These surveillance materials raised questions about Henyard's intentions. Was she planning a lone wolf attack, or was she part of a larger coordinated operation? The FBI's Counterterrorism Division has been working to answer this question, as the level of sophistication involved pointed to a larger, more organized threat. When FBI investigators analyzed Henyard's electronic devices, they uncovered a disturbing trail of radicalization. Her online activity revealed that she had been communicating with individuals linked to extremist groups, though the identities of these individuals remain under investigation. These communications, many of which were encrypted, contained instructions on creating homemade weapons, as well as discussions about planning violent attacks. It became evident that Henyard had been in contact with individuals who shared her extremist views, and investigators are now focusing on tracing these communications to uncover the full extent of the network she was potentially involved with. The national reaction discoveries in Tiffany Henyard's apartment have sent a wave of fear and anxiety throughout the nation. The presence of explosives, weapons, and extremist materials has led many to question the effectiveness of current counterterrorism measures. If a seemingly ordinary individual like Henyard could become radicalized to the point of planning a violent attack, what does this say about the state of national security? The FBI's findings have also sparked debates about the role of social media and online platforms in the radicalization process. Henyard's case is a stark reminder of how vulnerable individuals can be to extremist ideologies, especially in an age where information and misinformation can spread rapidly. The discovery has prompted calls for greater regulation of online spaces and a more aggressive approach to identifying and disrupting radical networks. At the same time, there is growing concern about the possibility of other sleeper cells operating within the United States. Henyard's case is not an isolated one. The FBI and other intelligence agencies have warned that domestic terrorism is on the rise, and this discovery only adds to those concerns. The implications for national security. The FBI's discovery in Tiffany Henyard's apartment is a stark reminder of the persistent threat posed by homegrown terrorism. Despite the progress made in counterterrorism efforts since 9/11, the United States remains vulnerable to attacks from individuals who radicalize themselves online and operate in isolation. Henyard's case underscores the importance of continuing to monitor and disrupt extremist activity both online and offline. The findings also raise questions about the role of local communities in identifying potential threats. Henyard's neighbors and co-workers had noticed odd behavior but failed to act until it was too late. This case highlights the need for greater awareness and vigilance within communities, as well as the importance of reporting suspicious activity to authorities before it escalates. Furthermore, the discovery has prompted lawmakers to reconsider the balance between civil liberties and national security. Some argue that enhanced surveillance and intelligence gathering are necessary to prevent future attacks, while others fear that this could lead to the erosion of privacy rights and civil freedoms. It is clear that a delicate balance must be struck to ensure both safety and individual rights are upheld. Conclusio. The FBI's raid on Tiffany Henyard's apartment uncovered a terrifying array of weapons, explosives, extremist literature, and digital evidence of radicalization. These findings have not only shocked the nation, but have also raised important questions about the state of national security, the role of online platforms in radicalization, and the effectiveness of counterterrorism measures. As the investigation into Henyard's activities continues, the full extent of the threat she posed remains unclear, but one thing is certain: her case is a chilling reminder that the fight against domestic terrorism is far from over. The fear and uncertainty caused by this discovery will undoubtedly linger in the public consciousness for years to come. Authorities must work tirelessly to uncover any potential networks connected to Henyard, and citizens must remain vigilant in reporting suspicious activity. The nation must be prepared for the possibility that there are more individuals like Henyard, hiding in plain sight, ready to strike when least expected. The terrifying implications of this discovery are clear. The threat of homegrown terrorism is real, and the need for vigilance and preparedness has never been more urgent. This piece should offer a comprehensive overview of the situation, its implications, and the broader societal concerns that have arisen from the discovery in Tiffany Henyard's apartment.